2 year back-to-back defending champion. Woo!
John, did you hear any music?
Are you
Nope,
serious?
nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely
What?
nothing.
I can hear
I don't
you.
care. I love it.
Hey, Jessup, when
No,
you do share your screen, do you also toggle the button that says share computer audio as well?
no, I never do that. Why do I have four desktops?
Well, that would make more sense, Mason.
Uh-oh. I don't like that.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Track Packers podcast for episode 31 of season 3, winding down the year for 2024. And we have, looks like a special guest with us, but we were supposed to have a full cast for the episode today with myself, Mason, along with Mr. Jessup Pelkey, John Brecko after a long hiatus away, and hopefully Miss Becca Pelkey will be joining us at some point during the show. Jessup, how are you doing on this nice cold December day?
I'm doing wonderful, Mason. It's been a long, dreary week, but the season's coming to a close for us with the Track Packer podcast. And once again, we see and find ourselves with a familiar face on the front row, leading the crew to the last checker flag of the season.
High pressure to be on the pole for the last podcast of the year, but you've been holding that position very firmly over the last several episodes, and so I
When we
expect
say
nothing different at the
several,
end.
I think we mean last couple months.
Well, we have
There's
been
not a
very
lot of other there's not a lot of other racers that can be that consistent.
debatable.
Okay, name four outside of our local area.
Oh, see, now we're moving the goalposts.
Hey, you think you have the answers? I changed the question.
Outside of our local area, let's see. Let's go with Jonathan
Actually, this should
Davenport,
be a pretty easy one. There's
hmm
David
who?
Gravel.
hmm
Yeah, David Gravel. Yeah. Who was
I'll
the other
go
one you said?
Jonathan Davenport.
Wrong.
hmm
No, he didn't lead squat this year. Who
He's
won? Who
consistently
won
up at the
at the
front
end?
though.
Yeah, but no, I said at the lead of the points all year. Mm,
Oh, points.
mm,
Well, I didn't pay
mm.
attention to points to be
You
honest.
right when who? It doesn't matter. We only worry about who wins. And with that, folks, I am done talking for the rest of the podcast. John and Mason, have yourself a wonderful season, and I will talk to you guys later.
Well, hey, this might be our most popular episode to date. John, how are you doing?
I am doing great. It is good to be back with you guys. I apologize for my little break that we had from here. So as soon as we got done with racing season, I hit full on work mode as we went through a spin-off from our parent company at the office. So that was kind of fun to see here throughout the end of the year. And then I also hit full on bowling mode. So as soon as we got out of racing, I kind of took a step right out of racing. I actually told Mason as well on here that this probably is so I'm on my racing laptop that I'm typically on from home during the racing season, and I haven't been on this computer in about 3 months, so it definitely needs some updates. But besides that, it's been good over the last several months here, but very busy. Can't believe it's the holidays already, and can't believe it's already the new year as we get ready to start not only 2025 off with hopefully a bang in a good direction here for the season, but also started off with a bang down in Arizona with some racing that's going to be coming up here in the Arizona and New Mexico area here very soon. So yeah, so it's been good otherwise from that, and pretty soon before you know it, we'll be back on warm summer nights at the racetrack.
So, John, I'm kind of missed it as I was looking at some of these old racing photos. Which laptop are you on?
So I'm on my new one. So
Oh,
I'm on
okay,
my
good. I
new
was a
home
little
one.
I thought
But it's
that one
still,
finally died.
oh no, it's still getting used at the racetracks. However, this one I also use for racetrack designs and some other stuff on here throughout the season. Yeah, it hasn't been turned on for a while. So it needs to go through some just regular updates, that have to happen from the apps that are on the computer.
Hmm.
You know, I always think of like I used to think of John as a very tech savvy person, but he's very slow when it comes to working on like new stuff or updating his new-ish stuff.
Oh yes, I'm one of those people that, hey, if it's not broke, we're not going to fix it. So,
I I
so yeah,
believe that.
so it's one of those things. Plus I value things quite a bit. So that's probably the other thing. It's probably the accountant in me.
Well, it's nice to have you back on the show, John. We definitely have missed you and your banter. We've had to kind of fill in some space to try to make sure your presence was still felt on the show. So if you listen to any
Well,
of the
and you
previous
kind of
episodes, we
miss
pay homage to you.
you kind of miss the spotlight a little bit too. I mean, you'd have that as well as part of the show.
Yep. We certainly needed you here to lighten things up a little.
I mean, you had to have some light, and I'm
Hmm.
just that ray
Hmm.
of sunshine that just keeps giving.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm doing really well. Looking forward to the holiday
Nobody
break.
asked, Mason.
I don't care if no one has. I'm doing great. Look, I am
Mason,
looking
how are you
forward.
doing today?
I am doing great. Like I said, been very productive over the last couple weeks. Going to be going home for a full week. Spend some time with the
Why not?
family. Why not, indeed? Then we'll be pretty much full bore towards spring and start a race season. Hopefully, depending on the weather, might start in April once again. We'll see. One of these years, it'll work out. And how is Becca and Riley doing, Jessup?
They are good. Becca is rocking it as a mother, and Riley's just the little sunshine that she can be, and she's enjoying life. Life is good at the Pelkey household.
Good deal.
Hmm.
Looking forward to seeing her at the racetrack a few times, hopefully next summer.
Oh, Riley made us a ornament at daycare. Look at her. Just a
Aw,
little. I
Oh,
know
that's
she even got
cute.
us gifts. What a sweetie.
that's awesome.
I know. When you're not a parent, you think these things are really dumb and outlandish, and then when you become a parent, you're like, oh my gosh, my baby. And then
That's
you
great.
actually put a lot of value into it. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
That's very cool. Well, as always, we'd like to thank our listeners for enjoying our content over the last couple of seasons. And I'm echoing apparently on someone's screen. But we wanted to thank you for the support of the last 3 years. If you haven't, be sure to follow our Facebook page, Track Packers Podcast, where we have all sorts of fun on the page. And if you're listeners, Spotify and Apple is where you can find our podcast as well. I always have to thank our presenting sponsor, as always, Hitch Harness and Mr. Tyler Hall out of Fertile, Minnesota. And even though the holiday season may have come and passed as far as shopping goes, that doesn't mean you can't still check out the products on hitchharness.com, including the single and double style receiver hitch harness designed for efficiency and safety for you truck owners. So check out those products along with all the other various things they have, including chassis dollies, pole bar brackets, and so much more for the racers to help alleviate their work in the shop as well. And so thank you, Tyler, for supporting us for another season here on the Track Packers podcast. And as Jessup alluded to, as you can see the lineup right now, Jessup is on the pole, followed by myself. And John, now that he's rejoined the field, is at the rear. If Becca joins, she might join with Jessup's screen, or she'll be joining at the tail of the field as well. So with that, why don't we start episode 31 with the official waving of the green flag and get into who or what are we repping with Mr. Jessup kicking us off.
Well, Mason, it's been a struggle to find new shirts just because all the new ones are on the bottom of my tote, and I just don't want to mess that tote up again. So I dug deep and I'm kind of excited. This one's a really cool shirt I got from you. It is my Dennis Zek. Uh, yeah, the Menace, Captain America, Dennis Zek. And the back's even got a bunch of stuff on it too. So overall, really cool looking shirt.
Very
And I'm
unique.
yeah, it's different. You usually see like car, name, sponsors on back, done. This is a little
Yes,
different. And I'm rocking our Track Packer beanies. Remember, folks, it's not too late to send a order to Mason to get yourself a nice beanie or a beanie for the loved one of your family or in your mind or someone who you may care very much about for the upcoming race season in 2025.
indeed. I still have
And
plenty of them
all
in stock.
proceeds go to the charity known as John, Mason, and Becca.
That's mighty white of you.
What?
You should have said it goes to Riley's future college fund.
No, no. Her grandparents have that taken care of.
Oh, good. Hey, cool shirt. I want to say that's from like 2014 or 2015, that shirt.
I don't know. It came from you.
I know. I'm trying to think of when I got it. I'm pretty
Well,
sure that was
I think it's a cool shirt, something different, kind of stands out, good color scheme, and it really pops. And I like a shirt that pops at the racetrack.
there you go. Well, excellent start to who or what are we repping. Keeping it simple for my stuff. I shouldn't say all my stuff. This is a Red River Valley Speedway koozie, one of a few that I have. The hat, of course, a Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour hat, but the shirt is a brand new shirt that I got this year, and I actually got this at the John Seitz Memorial this year. This is the 55C of Chad Mater, his 20th anniversary shirt.
Hmm.
Roaming the pits and saw this shirt hanging up in his trailer, and I was like, I gotta get me one of them. Now, I was kind of doing a little research, and I didn't fully find my answer, but I believe Chad Mater is a multi-time Seitz Memorial winner, correct, John?
He's
I
won it
think he's
once.
just a one time.
One time?
I think he's a one time.
I was trying to look to see which year it was because I don't remember. I don't think I've seen him win the Sites Memorial the years I've gone. So that's why I'm like, I know he's won it before, but
Yeah, he's won it for sure once. So yeah, so he's a one-time winner for sure of the Sice Memorial.
yeah, and he's always been going up to that race for the last several years, one of the top consistent runners. You may not see him like at the front, but he's always a guy that you kind of have to keep an eye on and kind of see where he's going to end up. He's really good at getting to the end of that race, and so definitely a cool shirt, and had to grab one and add it to my little shirt inventory for the year. So that's who or what I am repping.
Nice.
Which leads us to John Breckle with who or what are you repping?
So I decided to go kind of back kind of in the archives a little bit to do shirts, and I decided to wear something that's pretty colorful slash a little bit busy on here too, but I decided to go back to the first year that the I-94 Speedway held the WISSOTA 100 from Speedway Motors. So I went back to the 2018 shirt for the WISSOTA 100 Speedway Motors that was over at the I-94 Speedway in Fergus Falls, which they're hosting it again here in 2025. They're in September. So that'll be a fun event again that I'm sure Mason and myself will partake in during the September invitational season wise.
Yep, part of a busy 3 week stretch for us in September with the
Yeah.
Sites Memorial, Soda 100, and then the Stock Car Stampede in Jamestown, which is kind of like we have like there's like the speed weeks that happens in Florida, and it's like almost our 3 weeks of
It is.
grueling
I always
grind.
tell everybody in the office, I'm like, I'm just not there in September.
Yeah. Which is always interesting too, because it's like the beginning of school season too. So for like someone like Jessup who's a teacher, it's always a busy time with that too. And it's like, of course, everything's happening all at once. Awesome. Well,
Yep.
That is who or what we are repping for episode 31 of season 3. And give a shout out to one of our other sponsors, Isaac Hot Sauce Sandra with the Hot Sauce Hot Memory Rewind. And we want to thank Isaac for supporting us for another season as well. Drove the 12S IMCA modified this season. Unfortunately, it ended with a wreck, but I believe he's got stuff in the works for 2025 and some exciting new changes, which hopefully we'll find out here in the next month or so. And he also welcomed a little one into his family. So congratulations to Isaac and Emily on the addition. And so thank you, Isaac, as always, for the support of the podcast. You can follow him at 12S Racing on Facebook for all of his updates. Jessup, you can start us off again. Who do you got?
Well, I have a lot of photos here, but I'm only picking three. So we know the rules. John, you're back. Just so you remember, you got to pick the driver, year, and yeah, real simple. First one, we're going to keep it kind of easy for you, John. First one is right here.
Is that a 2 or is that a 7?
I think it's
That's a 2.
And this is supposed to be easy?
I
Yes.
think I have a guess. I
Go
kind
ahead,
of cheated
Mason,
a little
because
bit.
I have no guess.
I want to say it's Lynn Lamb.
Hey, awesome work.
Good job, Mason.
My only hint was it was going to be one of our spin-off T-shirts that we were contemplating a few years ago. He is a relative of the one who silences people.
Gotcha.
Oh, yes. Yes, Silence of the Lamb.
So that would be Lynn Lamb. Okay. All
Okay.
remember,
I
they're
remember
all
that
from the
when he
same
was
year.
I remember when he was back in a late model for a couple years.
Now this one might be a little challenging, but he is a Midwest, um, kind of a Midwest legend driver.
Pete Parker.
That is correct, John. Very good. Which gave it away? The Potawatomi Pot Patawa Potawatomi
No,
sponsorship, or was
no,
it the number
the
10?
10. The 10 gave it away
Clean
because
white number 10.
I
Yes.
just remember Pete back in the day with the number 10.
I saw Pete race at the Northern Nationals in up at Superior. I believe at the time it was the head of the Lakes Fairground, but an Amsoil Speedway at that time too. But
Nice.
moving on, last one here. This is kind of a fun one.
That is, what's his name?
It's a fun name.
I've actually seen him race in person.
Is he from the Iron Range?
Um, I don't believe so.
Oh, I gotta think of his name. I've seen him multiple times.
Yep. Would you like
It's
some
Mike.
hints?
It's Mike something, right?
That is correct. You got the first name, John.
Oh, what the hell's his last name?
What's the opposite of bad?
Mike Good?
Goodwin. Goodwin.
What was yours, Mason?
I just said good.
It's not Goodwin, but you have the good part right.
It's close. It's close to that. I don't remember his
What
full
do you
name.
use with the TV?
A remote?
Put it together.
Good remote?
Yes. Mike Good remote.
Okay. I would have not guessed that's how you
That's an
pronounce that
interesting
last
last
name.
name.
I'm sure someone will be like, that's the wrong pronunciation. Well, you know what? Until we're told otherwise, me and Mason slaughter Western names all the time on the Western Roundup. So
No,
don't don't hate on us.
This
that
said his
is
brother raced too, right?
What was his brother's name? Sounds like
Because I
Jeff.
remember Mike in the 12, and then I remember there's a 21
Is
that
it
looks
Jeff?
just like that.
Mike
I
Good
want to say
remote.
Jeff.
Was it Jeff? Jeff might have raced too,
I
unless it
can't
was maybe brother, dad, relation,
I
some type of
can't
relationship.
remember, but I agree. I thought there was one more good remote.
But there, yeah, I was gonna say there was a couple.
Now watch, someone will be like, "It's Michael Godremote."
I,
Yeah, Godremote.
Probably somebody will
It's
Yeah.
probably say that to
it's a
us.
Godremote. Yeah,
I
But
would.
it's okay if they want to correct us, feel free to correct us because then we know they're watching.
yeah. That's a true point. But now, one last question. between the three photos, what was the year that these were taken? And I accidentally showed you guys the years multiple times.
I, I want to say 2003.
Woo, Mason.
Look at
Ding, ding,
Mason
ding. Look
go.
at you. He's got
So
the Western Wanderer pulled up.
No, I
no,
actually
oh,
don't.
actually, Jessup, you showed us the year too, so I remember
Yeah.
I saw it. I knew it was
Yeah,
2003
that's my bad.
because Lynn was also transitioning back into the streets for 2004 at that time
Ah,
because he had a late model for a couple seasons and then he went back into the streets because he could just run the streets more across the
I
area.
wish we had more late model stuff out here, but you gotta take what you can get.
I got two.
That is a
35, that is John Halverson.
yeah. What
Correct.
what John said
Let's see. Is there?
from 2008.
I don't know. I don't know the year on that one. Okay,
That's why I
this
didn't
is
say
the
the year. I was
one.
like,
This is the one I need some help with. I feel like I still have a guess on this.
That is a car. Looks like a street stock.
oh, I know that car. 82.
Who's an 82 around here? Or do they still race?
I don't
Mason,
think this.
Make your guess.
I was gonna say it's like Steve Josie.
I think it is Steve Josie.
You know,
I
I'm
just
gonna say
don't
it.
remember the year. Was that like 2006?
Let me
7?
see. Which year? No, this. I think that's a 2011 picture because
Okay.
it was in my with my 2011 pictures.
Okay, so then it's probably 2011 then.
Yeah, that's a nice. That's honestly a really cool looking car.
Well, and put that picture back up because was
It looks like a
that's very
street
similar
stock.
to the paint scheme that Tucker ran. Remember when he got into the streets?
Yeah.
I could really is. So, so yeah, I remember that it was really, really, really close to that.
I, that's a cool looking car.
It's a really, really nice looking car. But yeah, but I remember that I don't know if I've seen that car in person ever because I don't think I was at the I don't know if I ever saw it at the sites. I'm sure I maybe did see it at the sites, but I remember that paint scheme.
Yeah, so if anyone can confirm that, that was my guess. So
Yeah, because I remember Greg was always the opposite of Steve.
yeah, that's why
So
I
that
was
would
like,
make more sense.
mhm.
So yeah. But oh, Becca's got her heater.
And Beanie.
Is
Mason,
Riley down? Is Riley down for the count, Becca?
she is.
Oh, she's down for the count. She's sleeping.
Aw,
Mason, you know what time season it is?
beanie season.
Beanie season.
Well,
It is.
Jessup, the reason why it's beanie season is you have to try to save your hair from further dismay with the thinning of the hairline.
Yeah, it's not looking good, but
That guy, I
it's
have bad news. Before you know it, he's gonna look like me with my receding hairline. Then there's gonna be two rays of sunshine.
There's
if John and I go to a racetrack without hats on, we would literally blind the drivers coming out of corner four, and then it would be carnage.
Especially you, because you'll be like in the flag stand, and all of a sudden it'll just be a beam showing up. People will think it'll be
Well,
like a
there'll be a few
spotlight.
shadows when the black flag comes out.
who needs
But
We're
stick
not
signals
exactly
when you got
sure.
Jessup and John blinding people on the racetrack.
Oh God.
Before we get to John's hot sauce hot memory rewind, Becca, how have you been doing?
I've been good. Just went back to work a few weeks ago, so that is different. My vacation has come to an end. That's what I always called it. My coworkers were like, "You're gonna regret saying that." No, it was a 3 month vacation. I enjoyed every moment of it. So now I'm back at work. Life is just different. Life is it's yeah. So
Becca
Riley's
doesn't get to nap every
I'm very
morning.
tired by like 2 in the afternoon every day, and it's just exhausting. But yeah, such
Welcome
is
back
life.
to work, Becca.
Yeah.
Well, and
Welcome to the
and if
land of the
anybody
living.
and if anybody has been following Becca's Snapchat a lot as well, she has become addicted to Frosties.
Yes,
Yes.
this is why she needs a permanent beanie. She gets cold.
It's
And
never too.
Frosty is at like 10 in the morning.
Yeah,
Shame.
Yeah,
It's
and
never
what?
too early or too cold for a Frosty.
What are you trying to say, Mason?
Also, they're way cheaper than McDonald's McFlurries, which I was into like for a hot moment. And I was like, why am I spending $5 for an itty bitty little thing of ice cream when I can get a large Wendy's Frosty for the same amount of money? So
Well, and their
Mm,
ice cream machine is a little more reliable than McDonald's, to be honest.
yes. Yes. Scott Gardner has experience with that.
yes.
Cool. Well,
So
it's great to have you back on the show, Becca. And what shirt are you wearing?
uh I am wearing a Ricky Alvarado children's medium. I still fit into it. So granted, I fit into it when I was pregnant too, but I still fit into it now. And so yeah,
Nice. How
depending
did you
on
end up with a children's medium shirt?
that's what he gave us.
Oh, wait, I remember this story.
We were supposed to hand this out at the racetrack, and whoops, we forgot.
Jesus.
Honest mistake.
Eh,
We actually did forget.
We did.
But
Mm.
then it's like on the middle of August, and it's like, would people know who a Ricky Alvarado is unless you're a diehard race fan? So I was like, I'll just keep it.
Yep.
Typical announcers. Forgetting.
Okay, to be honest though, Dakota Speedway has it's not a bad thing, but we have a lot of sponsors that an announcer must rattle off at any given moment, and so there's not a whole lot of free time to just to banter and give things away. So it's it is whatever.
Did you know we have the Cottingham Insurance caution flag, and they're located in two
Wrong
spots
sponsor.
in North Dakota.
Caution on
There's
John.
one
That's
in,
the wrong
there's one in
sponsor
Bismarck
at Dakota
and one
Speedway.
in Underwood.
and
Yellow
with
flag,
that, John goes to the back of the field again.
yellow flag sponsor. Cottingham Insurance is no longer the yellow flag sponsor at Dakota Speedway.
What
Caution.
is the caution sponsor, Becca?
Yes, what is it, Becca?
Honestly,
And just
hold
like that,
on.
we're gonna throw her a Fetzer electric caution flag.
If if there was ever a sponsorship for a caution, it should be like a wrecking, like Johnson's wrecking caution flag.
That would be a good
That would
one.
be
If
perfect.
Brian is listening to us, that's a good thing for next year.
I don't know. I'm some shiny headed person next to that miserable guy by the gate.
You have a point here. You'd think, like, on the topic of sponsorship, you want to kind of associate it that people would remember you're sponsored by. So, like, a black flag could be, like, sponsored by, like, a lawyer or, like, an attorney or something like that.
I could just see it now. John would be like, "Gang carnage!" And out comes the Johnson wrecking caution. Go get him, boys. Put him on the hook.
John, you get to finish off the segment of the hot sauce, hot memory rewind. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I've got three photos here. So let me share my screen really quick.
That is a
And
race
then
car.
and then here's the first one. So I'm not gonna force you guys really to guess the year because they're all over the place. So,
Well,
but
it's early. It's
you do have to guess
looks
the
like,
driver.
is that a Dakota Speedway photo?
Yes.
So it's
Is it
going to be
Eric
early
Paul?
Dakota Speedway because you can't see the trees.
Becca's right.
Who is it?
Eric Paul.
It's Eric Paul and his Wasota Street Stock.
Ow. Flex, Becca, flex.
I mean, look at Becca going over there.
That's a cool paint job, though.
It is a very nice car, isn't it?
It's a, it's a classic throwback special that I would appreciate.
It really is, Jessup. It's just for
I
you.
don't know if it's quite to your level of a throwback,
No,
though.
Mason, no.
This has got too much color on it for you, Jessup.
I
And
agree. There's
design.
a lot of gray.
Yeah, there's not enough gray or even just, like
Whoa,
white.
hold on. Stop. Pump the brakes right there. Mason, I'm not the one who likes gray. You're the one who was all over Ekdal's car when it was like gray on gray on gray, and you're like, it's like awesome.
There was some
I mean,
blue in it, too.
Yeah,
Mason,
the only two things
he's
that did had a different color was the number, and Mason's over there
Mason,
salivating.
he's not wrong. You know why? Because some of his colors that he likes are almost like that burnt rust that's on some of the paint schemes.
You know whose car I do like, and you guys are going to give me an even harder time? From the grandstand, it looks It looks fascinating, but it's the old modified of John Jr.
And with that, we'll move on to our second photo.
It's got patina and rust.
Once again, a street stock. But who is this?
I
I'm
do
gonna give
not
you guys.
recognize this one.
I'm gonna wait
It looks like the
because I
Daryl
wonder.
Nelson throwback, but it's
So
Daryl Nelson.
Jessup got part of it right.
It's Nelson.
Did Daryl
It's
Nelson ever
Nelson.
drive a street stock?
Mm-mm. Mods and late models for all I remember.
Because it's almost the color scheme that Daryl Nelson would have.
Is there a Dustin Nelson?
By the way, this is taken at the Stock Car Stampede.
Nelson.
Where is he from? Is he from North Dakota, Minnesota?
I'm going to say
Oh, no,
Minnesota.
he's from where Daryl's from,
Duluth?
right around that area.
I don't know them.
Define that area because it's been a long time since Duluth had
It's
super or street stocks.
okay. I'm gonna give you guys.
Nelson.
I'll give you
Nelson.
guys the name. It's Nick Nelson.
Really?
Nick Nelson. Nick drove a street stock for a couple years,
Man, that's got to be a long time ago because we haven't
and
had streets in forever.
and Daryl and him would travel together to the Stampede.
Wow.
What year is this, John?
This
This
would
gotta
be,
be
I
early
believe, it's 2001.
I was going to say it's got to be early 2000s because I don't remember
Yep.
the last time we had street stocks because we dropped streets for hobby stocks or we
So I
call
was
them
like,
pure stocks.
I'm gonna do a photo from Jessup's neck of the woods that he might not even know.
Well, I saw the paint scheme. I'm like, okay, this is definitely a Daryl Nelson scheme.
Yep.
It's a nice looking street stock for 2001.
You can tell that by the orange and the blue.
Do you
Mhm.
recommend
Yep.
sponsors? Like
Yep.
Harbor.
And sponsors are very similar to Daryl's.
Oh, John, can you zoom in a little bit on the sponsorship?
I can. Give me 1 second here. I got to figure out where
There's
my
a
Okay,
zoom
that would
couple-
be
is.
the
There it is.
rotate button.
There's a couple sponsors. If I saw them, I would tell you Harbor City Oil would have gave it away. Actually, fun fact, I know the owners. They've now since sold Harbor City Oil, but I knew them. Ken Woodmuff. Oh my God, I should have known this. Ha! I know the person with that too. That's awesome. And I know the other place bar. I've actually ate there.
That's pretty
Iron
cool.
River,
So, yeah.
Wisconsin. Yeah. Holy crap. That's a blast from the past. Nelly
So, yeah,
on the top.
so
Huh.
so yep, Nelly. So Nick Nelson
Nelson.
was
You were
the
a late model for a
44
cup of coffee.
street stock. Mm-hmm.
That was
Okay,
cool,
the last
John. When going back to the Nelson family, well, there was a point. I can't remember. I want to say they had identical. Like this is what I always thought race teams should have done. If you had a race team, they all come out with the same number, same colors, same scheme, and then just add a like N or a D or something onto their number. They came out one race. I know for sure they had at least 3 late models, all with the same paint scheme, and for some reason I thought they had 4. And there was like only 16 late models in attendance, so they made up a quarter of the field. And they all looked the same. It was hilarious.
Nice.
That'd be a scoring nightmare.
Yeah.
Especially back in the day because it was not transponder
It
related.
was-
It was all hand.
Yep.
Have fun with
Well,
What
that.
that's
about this point, John? SpeedNet was just coming into existence.
Yeah, because SpeedNet became kind of a bigger thing. What was it? Right around the 2003, 4, 5 time frame was when it
Yeah,
started
right
getting
around
developed, and then
right around my graduation is when it kind of started to get big.
yeah, yep. Final one.
That was cool. Oh, that's
Oh.
Jerry Radetsky.
I knew Jessup would know it immediately, and I was like, I'm gonna stump Becca with this one.
That would be a Becca stumper, but I know you were gonna try to stump me, John, because I did the same thing to you guys.
I would have said the wrong Radetzky to be fair.
Yep. I was gonna say Jess was probably the only one that knew Jerry from
Yep.
this side
Hmm.
from it because I actually never got the pleasure of seeing Jerry ever race. I knew
That's
who Jerry
actually
was, but I
a
never got to
cool
see it.
paint scheme.
I never got to see
You
Jerry race.
zoom in just a smidge, you get a better appreciation of
Where's
it.
the
It's not.
zoom button at again?
You got the white flames on the red portion and the red flames going back into the white portion. That's a sharp looking ride.
It is,
That's a
especially for
legit
even
looking
like back
throwback.
then, right? Especially for back then,
Yeah, I mean,
where
for back then, that would be something like
because
totally
these were still
different.
hand. Back then, this was still like hand paint. This
Hmm.
wasn't a direct like wrap. They would still paint them on.
Yep,
Okay, so those are my three.
those are good.
Excellent. Those are some pretty cool ones.
Becca, you want to start grabbing photos from under the desk and start showing them?
The fact is like, I'm not partaking in this. Yeah.
So the main part of this episode, with it being our last episode of 2024, we like to hand out some awards. Have a little bit of a spin on it this time. We're each gonna go around, do 3 laps. Basically, each of us pick a category. No rhyme or reason for it, as long as it's not controversial. Jessup.
Come on, you haven't
Yeah.
even let me do a CNC lately.
Well, I there are C and C's that I could cut out of various episodes, so that could be another project or two.
It's not fair.
But anyways, it could be a random array of things for best of whatever, worst, favorite, whatever it may be. I will let ladies go first for this first lap. Becca, what is your first award that you would like to hand out?
Wait, I think I misunderstood the whole concept of this. I give
So
out
basically,
category. Do I get named three things that could be in that category?
one.
You mean I've racked my brain about this for
There's only one category?
No, so like think of it as wins of the week, where you have like 3 different winners, but you just pick one. Like say you want to do like I don't know,
I have no
favorite
wins
track of
this
the
week.
year. And then you say yours, and then we can kind of balance off. It's like, this track deserves a shout out too, or whatever it may be.
Yep.
So you only have to think of like 3 different categories and come up with one for
I
each.
will go first
one
since
category?
I'm your pole sitter.
Oh,
Because
Jessup,
Becca
go ahead
looks
and lead it off.
confused.
Mason,
My first award goes to the Transition of the Year award, and that would go to the Dakota Classic Modified Tour Group, as this was their first year and they transitioned from John Gartner Sr. to a bunch of uh, really a group of individuals to make it all come together. Aaron Turnbull, IMCA TV, the Beaters, everybody involved did a really wonderful job this year. It ran really smoothly, I thought. Um, like it was, it felt like it was almost turnkey ready for them. And kudos to the people in the background making that a smooth transition. Kudos to everyone involved. Um, Byron Victor, can't forget him as well. You see a lot of series at some point transition to a new ownership, and whether we like it or not, a lot of them tend to really struggle out of the gates, if not shudder to cease to exist anymore. And this was by far one of the smoother ones I've seen in a long time. And that's just a tribute to the passion for the mod tour that all the individuals involved have for it. And I would be remiss not to give those guys and individuals a lot of credit because they pulled off a very successful tour this year, I thought. So that would be my first one.
I'd agree with that. That's a really good one.
Mhm.
This year I got on most of the tour besides one night and ran pretty smooth. Nice and efficient shows. They were all done pretty swiftly throughout each night, so I would definitely agree with that.
All right.
Any
So I guess
other
good.
transitions that anyone else can think of? I did kind of think of one while you were talking. I know they had new promoters at Rice Lake Speedway this year, and they had a pretty good season. I believe Colby Keel and his group did a great job of kind of putting some more money into the track, kind of redoing some of the bleachers and seating, reworking the track, and the area plans to kind of continue that throughout this off season. So give them a shout out for transition of the year as well as it. Heard a lot of good comments out of there.
Well, another transition, I guess we could say, would be um, the reconfiguration and the track prep up at Nodak. I was
Mhm.
really impressed with them this year. I know I give Mason a hard time a lot by calling their surface Nodak smooth because the more so or not, whether it's right or wrong, I often hear about the track being, or the previous years I've heard the track being rough. And then this year, Mason got on my tail and we went up there a few times. And each time we went up there, the track was smooth, the racing was good, and that takes a lot of work and a lot of time, a lot of money and resources go into that. And not saying people, the groups before didn't do that, but I think they really did an excellent job this year and they really impressed me.
Definitely agree with that. Any other ones before we move on to the next award? Becca, do you kind of get the idea?
Yeah, no idea.
Go ahead. You can go next then.
Oh, okay. How about, sorry, this is
Hold
my
on. I
I'm a
got
little
I got
rusty.
one for Becca. Move over. The leader's coming through.
Being a little rusty at this. It's been a while since I podcasted. Okay, so I get the concept now. All right, how about I'm gonna go with the award idea that I was going to do with three winners in. How about racing giving back to the community? So my first award winner was going to be to the Mann family up in Esteban Motor Speedway because I forget her name. It's the matriarch of the family, but she had was diagnosed with breast cancer before the racing season. So the Esteban Motor Speedway.
Alicia.
I thought so, but I didn't want to say the wrong name. But yeah, Alicia Mann was diagnosed with cancer before the racing season started. So Esteban Motor Speedway decided to give half of the 50-50 raffle proceeds, which in Esteban, they raised thousands of dollars. Well, lots of tracks do 50-50 raffles, yes, but most tracks raise a couple $100s. It's pretty rare to get over 1,000. So up in Esteban, it's common. And so half of the proceeds raised on opening night at the Esteban Motor Speedway this year went to the Mann family to help them battle cancer. And then also a lot of the local businesses and track sponsors heard about this and also pitched in a lot of money to help that family out. So I thought that was amazing. And it's always good to hear good stories like that where the racing community rallies either around a family or a community. So I love that. So
Great one. And works out well because actually with the 50-50 up in Estevan, because they always have some big pots. So
yeah.
worked out really well for that.
What do you guys think it is that the Canadian tracks do so well? You get these enormous 50-50 pots.
Well, I think part of the reason why Esteban gets such really good 50-50 raffles is because they actually have little monitors in their grandstands. So as they're selling raffle tickets to the fans, they're uploading it onto an electronic system. And so you're seeing the live raffle as it's going. So
Hmm.
if John buys $20 worth of raffle tickets, you automatically see that up on the monitors around the facility. So the fans are constantly seeing the pots grow. And if you're a first time fan or a fair weather fan or a die-hard fan, you're seeing these numbers and you're thinking, well, if I put some money in, I could win a lot of money tonight. So I think that's part of it. They just by far have a really great system for selling raffle tickets up there.
Well, I mentioned that because another Canadian track that you hear ridiculous 50-50 pot size is Thunder City.
Hmm.
And it's
Yep.
like ridiculous amounts. I mean, it's not like Eldora's the Dream Weekend or um, the World Weekend with it, but it's always over 1,000 every single night. And then they do, I think, what was it there was one that was like 5,000 or something. I'm like, I would like to win 5,000. I would like to go there and just buy one raffle ticket and win that. Even if it is Canadian money, that's still a good return.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, that's a really good one for racing giving back for the
Mhm.
year. Any other honorable mentions that we can think of?
Oh, I think Casey Eustatis is a good one. He's always good with the kids, and he had the what did he have? The Hot Wheels,
The Hot Wheels
uh,
track. Yep.
the
Yep.
Hot Wheels track where they've had a bunch of cars that the kids could race off. Or was it off the back of his car?
It was.
Um, I don't know if it's totally off the back of his car, but he'd always have it set up near his pits. And I
Yeah,
think you
Yes.
could challenge him to a race, and if you won the race, then I can't
you got
remember
to keep
exact
the car.
price. Yeah, you got to keep the car.
Hmm.
I know that's not a lot of giving back, but that's a great ambassador type move by them.
Hmm.
Way to get the kids and the families into the pits after the races. It's very genius.
Yep. I
Oh,
know one that I remember from not too long ago. I believe it was Mackenzie Kopecki out of South Dakota. She was diagnosed with brain cancer towards the end of the racing season, and so they did a bunch of decals designed by Mike Stearns to kind of help raise awareness and help with some of the medical funds. And from the latest update, I believe she's doing much better than in previous months. So I believe you can still get in contact, especially down in South Dakota, to kind of help with some of those costs associated with that. But that's just another example I thought of with racing giving back in a sense.
Hmm. Yep.
hmm
One of my other ones was during Super Nationals. They were going around the pits, and one of the kids in the pits was actually washing race cars to earn money to buy a camera. And so IMC
Oh, yeah.
heard about this, and they actually just went to the local Best Buy down there or wherever they went, right, Walmart or whatever. And they actually went out and bought just really nice starter kit for this youngster, and they presented this camera equipment to this youngster during Super Nationals, and I thought that was really cool. Just helping this young guy just get started in photography, and I think he followed Byron Victor around for quite a while, but pretty cool.
I remember seeing that. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was.
Nice. Good
That Byron
award.
Victor guy, he keeps coming up in our awards.
Byron Victor. He's a cool dude.
He is.
John, what's your first award?
It's a good question. So I'm gonna do one because I'm very much of a ray of sunshine over here. So
Huh.
let's do who do we think from a racing? We're gonna go racing not related here. Direct racing, car related. Who was your favorite paint scheme of 2024?
Mason, pull up your folder.
There was a lot of good ones out there.
Don't make me
I
think.
I actually
But
had to bring up my phone. It's been a while
I
since I've
think
looked
you
at
need
cars.
to. Mason, start pulling
I'm
up full
I'm gonna give
pictures.
one that really caught my eye right at the beginning of the season, and I still like it to this day. I was a huge fan of Brennan Waite's green paint scheme this year that he had on his Midwest mod. I'm a green car person, so it was really nice with the little hint of white in there as well with the green, and it definitely popped in the pit area when you first saw it.
Mhm, mhm.
I saw a lot of cars this year. This I don't know if I could pick one.
Mason, I need you to pull up some photos.
Oh,
Oh, this is hard.
hey, Becca, I got one for you.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen for yours. Can you see it?
No.
Nope.
No? Okay, hang on.
I mean, if
Let
you need
me
lessons on how to share a screen, I can help you.
yeah, let me yeah, Jess would probably
I do need those lessons.
Oh, yes.
You sent this to me.
Yes.
I like it for obvious reasons.
For obvious reasons.
It's
That's
a
Dominic
throwback.
Plato's street
Yep,
stock.
Dominic Plato's. That was his second half of the year paint scheme, Mason.
Yes.
Love it.
Yep. Gosh, I don't know if I'll be able to come up with just one.
I'm gonna. I
There
need.
was
I'm gonna honestly need you to go. It's been so
there was
long,
a lot of
Mason.
throwback paint schemes this year too.
Oh my gosh. All right, let me just go into North Dakota here real quick,
Yep, a
and
lot
I'll
of throwback paint schemes.
see if I can expedite this process because we could go on a whole rabbit hole on this. So let's see here. This is IMCA
Yes, this
Hobby
is
Stocks from
good.
North Dakota. Oh yes, I got one. Brenner
I have
Grinstead's
one.
is
Nah, I knew you were.
Brenner Grinstead's is pretty nice.
that
Yep.
is because he had the white wall tires.
Oh yes.
That looked really cool this year.
Yep, that one was really pretty.
Yeah.
Okay,
Watching it on the
go to
track was really pretty.
modifieds, Mason.
I'm going to modifieds.
Mm.
Where we at? There we go.
Modifieds. It's modified time. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
There was some pretty ones here too.
See any that stick out for you?
You
Well,
go.
I
Yes.
mean, Mason, let's help Jess out here. I mean, we've got paint schemes
Oh
that he
yeah.
would really like.
Oh my gosh.
So Mason, go up here really quick. And no offense to any of these drivers, but they kept it very authentic. Jessup
Jeremy
probably really
Keller.
liked. No,
I
Justin
did
Denny's
like
paint
Keller's
scheme.
cars.
I
Plain.
think
It's
I think
simple.
I think that was probably one that Jessup really was a fan of this year. I also think that the original Dayton Olheiser paint scheme before Dayton got his wrap on the car, I mean that one probably was definitely a
Hmm.
Jessup paint scheme.
Julie's car was pretty sharp.
Yeah, that's a Jessup paint scheme to a T.
Oh, for gosh sake.
Which one was you? Were you
I was
thinking?
looking at Thule's.
Oh yeah, he always
Yeah.
has some really good schemes.
Truly had a
Yeah.
very nice paint scheme this
I
year.
like
Yep, and a
Julie's
good
car.
cause behind it too.
Yep. Yep. So, John.
Well, I'm just surprised you liked a
Go to
car
the
that
late
actually has
models,
some design
Mason.
on it.
8 miles. We have getting quite a few more late models in North Dakota.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I personally like Tucker
Oh,
Peterson's because it's pink.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
that was
Tucker's was really nice this year. Yep,
yeah.
Tucker's was nice. Um, Honestly, from a late model realm, I really like Cole Babcock's this year too.
Yeah.
His paint
He was
scheme was really nice this year.
Did you guys see his dome paint scheme? I thought that was so
Oh yes, that's on my
That was
list
pretty
here.
nice too.
Yeah.
Speaker
I'll
did a
still
really
go
nice
with
job
the
on that.
I like the Harry Gant one of Tyler Peterson.
Do I have that one in here? I
You
feel
Yeah,
did.
like
you
I-
did. You had it in there. I don't know if you had Tyler's original paint scheme on there, but you had the Harry Gant one.
Yeah, I don't know. Dang, I need to update this.
Yep,
Yeah,
right there's Tyler's.
that's his
Yeah.
always a nice.
I like
that
that.
one turned out really nice.
Yeah. I like that he did his mod that way.
Yep, Mr. September.
All right, go
Nice.
back to the Minnesota late models.
Yeah, he's not done yet, Mason.
Yeah, I'm not done.
Oh my
I'm-
gosh.
All right, I'll go move on.
You can pick one more out of the Minnesota late models.
Yay.
Then we have to move on.
I will say out of the Minnesota streets, I have always been a fan. I was a fan when he first started the paint scheme this year before he got demolished, basically only a couple races in. I really liked the purple on Braden Brower's car. I really liked that this year.
That one was cool. I like that one too.
Let's see.
There's Cole
Wow.
Babcock's original one.
Yeah, that's all right. Next.
The pink really popped on that paint scheme.
It did. I'm always been a bit of a sucker for Daryl Nelson's 44. Cade Nelson's was really sharp this year, I thought.
Yeah, Barrels was pretty sharp, but I like Cade's better, to be honest.
Yeah, just a bit better for Cade, I thought. Now, John would give me a hard time, but he would say really liked Billy Kendall's all white with red fender flares
Oh, where is that one? Oh, that one.
right there. I believe
Yes, it
they
was
made their own this year.
Yes.
I don't think
That was
so.
a throwback paint scheme, though, too, I think, for him.
Dude,
Yeah.
I think it was his dad's.
Yeah, I think it was back to his dad. Yep.
Oh, he's sponsored by
Majestic.
our spot. Hey, go back to that photo.
Hey, yep, there was a
Oh,
hitch
Yeah, look
harness
at who
on
he's
there.
Hitch
sponsored
harness.
by.
Yes, right on
Uh-huh.
the nose cone.
Uh-huh. That's pretty neat because he did when he ran the tour, they explained to me one day about why they didn't run a lot of sponsors because they were concerned if they got pulled over that if they had to unload the car for whatever reason and there was sponsorship on it, they would get
Mm-hmm.
fined or charged for something on it. And so to see them have a sponsor on there's pretty interesting. Not that it's a bad thing because they picked a good sponsor, but it's something different for him.
Yeah. And nice to see a little change of pace going from the modifieds and the late models this year. And he actually
Oh,
did pretty well for his first year in the late
he did.
models.
He actually had
I
a really good season in the late
For
model
some
for being
reason
a
I
rookie.
thought he built his own late model this year, like chassis.
I know they do their mods, Jessup. I don't know about their late
I don't
models.
I
know
don't know
about
about
the
the late model.
chassis. Yeah, the I knew they were doing mods, which I always thought was really cool because
Yep.
in today's racing society, you have to have the latest and greatest thing. If it's with soda, you got to have an MB.
Yep.
And then if it's IMCA, it's a Rage or some other thing. And then they just go out and build their own. And Billy's always been a highly successful driver.
He has. Definitely has a lot of talent and it's looking pretty
He's
good.
smart. He's a really smart individual.
Hmm.
Okay,
So that
Mason,
was
what's yours?
my
Yeah,
first
Mason.
award is going to be the my favorite event outside of the racetrack. And I'm going to our go-karting adventure outside of Aberdeen for the Street Stock Tour
Oh,
weekend. We had a bunch of drivers go to Wiley Park. Got to race against a bunch of people in the go-karts, got to spend some time in the water boats. So you could imagine the drivers having a very good time and very fun afternoon on a very hot and humid Saturday in Aberdeen. And gosh, that was by far my favorite event outside of the racetrack. Because you honestly don't see too many events where you get the drivers kind of like out in the public necessarily and kind of interacting with people as they come in to the park and all these activities. And so that was kind of a nice little change of pace just to kind of, loosen up a little bit, not have to worry about working on the cars or just going out and having some fun. And when you get drivers that in a go-karts, they it almost like looks like they get more competitive in a sense. So it was a good
Well,
time.
and speaking of that too, they didn't even have to even worry about working on their cars. They should have been more worried about loading up their cars that night when Monsoon Mason
Mason.
and Hurricane
Yes.
Kayla were in the vicinity and
Ooh,
it just downpoured.
that's a great nickname for him, Monsoon Mason.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was it. That was a frustrating late afternoon, early evening, but the early afternoon was fun.
I personally like two other things outside the racetrack that I think are really cool to get drivers involved. I really like meet and greets with drivers down front, either if it's at the racetrack, if it's outside. I'm a huge fan of the trunk or treat events. I think those are really cool to get people down, especially with kids, down into involvement with the drivers. I think those are really cool too. And then the cars are right there too, so they can kind of check out the race cars as well. But I also do like kind of on some of the other events across, and a lot of big shows do this across the board. Kind of like a cornhole tournament. So those events are pretty cool too. To see some kind of cornhole thing because I know Super Nationals has cornhole tournaments, Soda 100 has cornhole tournaments. So a lot of those big events have cornhole tournaments to get just people involved in various degrees to get them excited for the weekend or even just as an activity during the weekend. So for instance, like some of them, like Stampede kicks off with kind of a cornhole tournament. The 100 kind of has it right in the middle, and so does Super Nationals to try to even things out just a little bit to keep people engaged and involved besides just being at the racetrack with your race car. So yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Some good ones.
now are we talking like events that things that happen to us personally, or we partook in outside of the racetrack, or can it be outside of racing that happened at the track, even if racing did take place while it was happening?
I'll let you go either or because I'm curious.
I'm really curious on what your thought process is here too.
All right,
So,
so the first one I have is um, racing was taking place, and we were inside the racetrack, and I decided to just take a little trip over to the Tri County Speedway, and Monsoon Mason and Hurricane Kayla were both there. And Mason, for those who don't know, Mason's very serious about his footage and his B-roll, and when he's in the zone, he is like laser focused, and that you shouldn't mess with him. So it was I think it was second night of the fair,
Yeah,
and I think it was a hobby stock race, or no, it
it
was
was
either
hobby stock
hobby
heats.
stock. Was it heats? I
Yep.
thought it might have been Midwest mod heats, but needless to say, uh, Mason was very locked in that night. He was like, "I'm in the zone. You guys need to be focused and stop messing around." And it was warm, and both Kayla and I we've volunteered there before to do work, and she was running the scales, and somehow I found my way to the end. Just something that I seem to happen to do. And next thing I know, Mason's being all serious about his footage work, and I go, Kayla, let's mess around with Mason here. And every time he comes by, because Mason's doing the full 360 turn, and credit to him, I would be dizzy. And we start doing like anything to get him to notice something's going on in the background. So we come to the agreement that we're going to do the YMCA. So first lap goes by. Here's Kayla and I with the Y, and then next lap goes by. We're at the M, and now by the second or third lap, Mason's starting to catch on something's happening in the background, and you get the C, and by the fourth lap, we're getting this like you can see Mason's laughing, but he's getting kind of off his game because he has these clowns in the background messing around. I thought that was pretty fun.
It was, and granted, my infield shooting is not great to begin with. It's always very shaky, especially with the camera I have. That made it a little bit more shaky.
And then the other time I enjoy or enjoyed um, just really going over to Jamestown to test all of our stuff with John and I. Um, Running joke is that we hit deer with my vehicles going over there.
luckily, there was no deer injured in the making of, any type of DSTV videos this year.
Is it
But
my drive?
yeah, but I enjoy it because we talk racing, we talk about everything under the sun, and we go when we get to the track, we have fun, but we're all business. It's set up, tear down, or set up, test, adjust, tear down, talk to Tim or Allison, and then either hit the road right away or go hit Johnny B's. And then we usually catch a race on either Speed Sport or um, what is it, Flow, and it's entertaining. It's relaxing. It puts us in a good spot for the upcoming race that we're doing. Usually the yes, Mason, we do have great service at Johnny B's. It's because you're not there. But it puts us in a good position for the upcoming races, which are either Stampede or um, Gumkey mainly for us. Or I think this year we also went over to test the new soundboard before the season started too, didn't we?
No, I did that at Testing Tune. I went over there by myself, I think.
Oh, you poor thing.
I did.
And the final thing I really enjoy is watching John uh, with his camera at the
Oh,
Stampede taping trailers.
That was my
did you
first
guys
time actually
know?
seeing him in action doing that.
Oh,
Did you
I've
guys
seen
know?
it numerous times. It's awesome.
I have yet to watch that video yet this year.
I
Like
don't
I
know
said,
why
I have
you
been
don't.
so unplugged from racing after we got done that I haven't even watched it yet.
So, what I would really appreciate, I think it would be amusing just to see how many people, how many views we get, is John starts his own YouTube channel, John Breckle announcing Lawn Chair LLC. And it's just the trailer parade.
That would be fascinating.
It would be fascinating,
You
I
could
think.
make a
I bet you would get
TikTok.
a good number of
Don't need
people who actually.
TikToks, Mason.
Well,
Those are
it'd be
my
an idea.
moments.
Yep. So that's my award. Did you think of anything, Becca? Or we can move on to lap number two.
You can go on.
Okay. Lap two, Jessup.
Uh, Highlight moment of the year for me, or highlight return of the year, would be the Dakota Speedway having late models, and um, it was awesome. Becca, how many late models did they have again?
27.
Was it 28,
20
27?
set, no, 27 both nights.
7 on day one, 26 on day two.
Yep.
I I thought that was awesome. It's the first real full late model show I've seen at Dakota Speedway, and I the last was what 7 years ago. Prior to that,
Yeah.
that had only like 11 or 12 late models show up, and they decided to axe that from the Gov Cup after that. And finally, after many years of prompting and suggesting that there should be late models at our track, they finally brought late models to the track, and it was a great turnout and a lot of hard work between some of the board members, Tim Pittenger and Becca, to get and Paul Mueller doing some outreach. Um, I thought it was awesome that we had such a what I would consider a diverse field of late models in there. You had some from like far west, and then some of the common North Dakota guys, and then a couple of the South Dakota guys showed up, and had a few tracks not gone back on their word or intentionally tried to be spiteful. Um, you probably would have seen closer to 35, 40 late models. And maybe not 40. I'd say closer to 35 late models or so around there. 40 just seems like a really outlandish number in today's racing time, but it wouldn't have surprised me either because had a few things been different and a few promoters not gone back on their word and allowed the late models to race at our track instead of holding them hostage with a weekly show. I think you would have seen a lot of late models, and the racing was awesome. I thought the first makeup feature from the first night, we were trying to do some glitch fixes on our end, and I remember at one point when we got it fixed right before the late models went to the green, and I looked up because I was focused hard on just making sure things were going. And I looked up and I was like, okay, there's 27 late models completely all over our track. And it took me a while to find the leader. And I'm like, oh, this is actually really cool. And just think, this should happen weekly at Dakota Speedway. Or I'd really hope to see late models weekly, but I'm a dreamer.
They were fun highlight videos to watch.
Mhm.
Well, it it was just so unique. They were everywhere. And it was like a battle for every position everywhere. So the leader was way out ahead, but he was getting tracked down. And then there was battles in the mid pack that you could watch. There was battles ahead of the leaders you were watching, and then the battle for the lead was starting to tighten, and it was just a great race.
Nice. So you consider that like your highlight moment of the year, your
Highlight return.
highlight return? Oh, specific.
It could be anything. It could be a race. It could be a worker, a fan, a driver, a division, an event.
I'd have one for this next year, but I'm trying to think of something for 2024.
That one should be at Dakota Speedway.
I know it. So at least you read my mind.
I'm just happy to see late models in the western part of the state. I think that's awesome. We
Mhm.
need more late models. It brings a nice full fender diverse look to the field. Any returns? Any
Well, I only got to this track once, but it was cool to go to a brand like almost a brand new track, Redwood Speedway after being closed for several years.
Mhm.
That was a cool experience. And that's like I love like half mile tracks. That is the flattest half mile I've ever been to. That place
Really
is flat.
flatter than Knoxville?
It rivals being flatter than Knoxville. I mean, there's not
Huh.
much banking to it at all. And like the straightaways are so like long because it used to be a 5/8. So it
Mm.
used to be like the straightaways are so long and then the corners are like real tight. And so there's not
Just
much banking to grab onto.
nice long paper clip.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Becca,
Thinking.
John, do you have a highlight return?
Not really a highlight return. I mean, there's been from like maybe track stuff, but I would say a highlight return for me has been it's been kind of cool to see some of the drivers that have returned back to their, well-known divisions in the last maybe 2 to 3 years, that have really kind of stepped up their game and become their own again, which is kind of cool to see. So, examples. So Mitch Johnson back in the late models making the feature at the Sites Memorial, that was pretty cool to see. Making his way through the late model field of the Stampede from 20th to 5th. That was really cool to see too. So yeah, so watching some of those drivers that have been kind of, getting brand new cars and coming back into the fields again have been pretty cool.
Got one. My highlight return for 2024 would be a return of a touring legend series.
Yes.
So
yeah.
many years, like 10 years ago, they used to have a legendary tour. They called it something different back then. But
It was the North Dakota Legends Tour back then.
thank you. But yeah, so Brandon Anderson and his girlfriend Jess, they worked really hard this past year to put together a new touring series for the Legends, and it's good to see them return. They had good car counts throughout their race dates, and sounds like they're gearing up for 2025.
Yeah, so that's an awesome highlight return too. Definitely been due
I
to
would
have
agree.
Legends. Definitely been due to have Legends tour, especially with the growing car numbers. And I'm guessing there'll be quite a few Legends again this year. So
Especially with
cool.
how especially with how large that class has become. I mean, there has been a the car count is getting up there for sure
Gosh.
within that class over the years, and it just continues to grow. So that class is definitely on the rise.
Well, speaking of large classes, we
What a
continue on to
transition.
yeah, that was a
Speaking of
horrible
large.
transition by me. Lap two, Becca, what's your second award?
Okay, how about funny things we've seen on Facebook this year?
Oh
Mm.
boy.
So my award goes to Dennis Zek, who just typically posts funny things on his racing page in the first place. But a few weeks ago, he decided to sell uh, a gift that he gifted his wife. It was a body pillow of himself, and he was raising money on the internet for this body pillow of himself to buy her a new gift for this year. And I thought that was super funny. Just the comments and how he went about pitching that on Facebook. So
Yeah.
gold.
His whole Facebook page is just comedy gold,
Great.
which I'll piggyback off of that. Like the funniest like racing videos I saw on Facebook were the between two turns from the Wissota 100.
Yes.
Those
The
were
Jody
great.
Belfi one was great.
Yes. Especially the entrance of Jody Belfi's.
Yes.
Gosh, those were a hoot to follow all week.
I would say one of the funniest things I see on, I would say Messenger is anytime there is a photo of a NASCAR and Mason starts to complain about the number location. To which John will reply with, or Mason will reply with, or both of them, whenever they see a throwback scheme, Jessup would love this car.
You complain you never see any of the cool looking cars in the region, so we might as well share them with you.
I mean, let's talk about
Oh
this
my
really
God.
quick. Really quick. Okay. Let's actually talk about this. So this year, Becca, Jessup, myself,
Oh,
we were out at Dakota Speedway during the test and tune
Which
session. So the first test and tune of the year when we first started.
yeah.
And Jessup was beside himself when we started the season because he said, there is no good paint schemes out here. This is the most plain year for white
you
paint schemes
agreed.
that I
So
have
did
seen. And I
Becca.
agreed directly in this one too. I was like, yeah, there's some pretty lackluster paint schemes here, which I in return looked at Jessup and said, you should enjoy this. They're right up your style. So, yep. So poor Jessup was complaining because there was lackluster paint schemes, which is what he enjoys.
And a test and two, no less.
Oh my God.
Yes, the
Okay.
less for him,
I
the
hate
better.
all of you.
So
I hate all of you equally.
so
I
if
don't hate. I passionately dislike all of you equally.
you have to
Hate's
love
too strong of a word.
you have to love
I
me.
have to deal with Becca every day.
What triggered this idea was I might have been scrolling Facebook while you guys were ranting about road construction and whatnot. River City Speedway just posted a post just a couple
Their
earlier.
schedule?
No, earlier,
Lies.
and Mason can actually go and get this graphic. But anyway, they did a hey guys, it's 5 days until Christmas. You guys have heard of Elf on a Shelf, but have you seen? And it goes dot dot dot, and the graphic is a picture of Mark Dobmeyer on a piece of almond bark, and it made me giggle.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I was wondering what that was all about. I didn't
I
look
would,
close.
I'm glad you explained that because I would not have gotten that.
Mark Mark on some bark. I love
Yep.
clever stuff like this. Like, there's not a whole lot to post about right now. Leading up to the holidays. This is genius.
Yeah.
Great on River
No,
City.
So if that's Mark on the bark, what would someone like what would someone like Jessup be? Would it be like Jessup on the pickup or something like that?
that's horrible.
No, I think it would be more like Jessup on a bottle of ketchup.
Jessup on the ketchup?
I hate you all so evenly. It's not even funny. And
And
not hate, passionately dislike.
I mean, this is no different than me on the milk carton.
You know, it for John, it would be really easy. It's John on the John.
That is a pretty good one.
Becca on the Recca.
Right. So that was Becca's lap two, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. John, lap two.
Okay, so lap two for me, I just did paint schemes. I'm gonna do let's see, best event of the year, or the most fun event that I probably attended of the year. Across the board. We always talk about invitationals at the year end, and there's a lot of really good invitational out there. And like Mason and I were talking earlier, always enjoy our year ends that we get to spend together. at the end of the racing season. Yes, it's kind of sad and disappointing because the season's coming to an end. But the year-end specials are really cool. But the event that I really enjoyed this year, honestly, across the board, I was really looking forward to the 4th of July weekend with the start of the Mod Tour and everything else. Unfortunately, Mother Nature had a lot of other plans on there. Still a great weekend, but it wasn't exactly what I had expected across the board. But my probably most fun weekend that I had this year was probably the Street Stock Tour doubleheader in Jamestown. That was probably the most fun weekend I had at a racetrack during the summer. And it's just because of the camaraderie that was out there, as well as, racing action stuff and everything else. And it was kind of just a fun weekend overall. And it was also a fun weekend for me because I was finally able to walk better. I had just had knee surgery before that.
That's right. Yeah. I like the big meal out afterwards on Friday night. That was fun.
Kayla
That was
even
fun.
brought her mac and cheese.
Sure remember. It was
Yes,
Yeah.
impressive.
yes.
She remembered all the
Everybody in the
ingredients.
pits gave her a standing ovation.
Yes.
This was
Fortunately,
very
there
true.
was no golf carts there for her.
No, there was golf carts around.
But she
But
stayed away from them.
no, she did not. Anyways,
Well, she didn't fall off this time.
she did not fall off, which is progress. What are their favorite events from the year? Mine had to be it was actually the same weekend as Gov Cup. The weekend I went out to Wisconsin for Street Stock Tour, Cedar Lake, Red Cedar. I kind of, and stayed a couple extra days for the Little Dream, just because I don't know too many people out in Wisconsin. So basically, with the few people that I do know that kind of travel, it's kind of fun just to go to a different state and kind of just kind of do your own thing. Got to go on some nice long runs while I was out in Wisconsin, explore some nice trails and stuff. And so made a full weekend, and that was like what my racing vacation of the summer, so to speak. And so I'm guessing be something similar to that this summer, but I really want to try to go to a new location for a racing vacation this next year in 2025. So we'll see what that looks like.
Go ahead, Becca.
Busy.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
All right, my event of the year. Hmm. Oh, I know. Going to Ada.
Oh, for is it the sprint car
Sprint
night?
cars. Yeah. King of the Wings, night one.
Yes.
Yeah, that
And
was
I
fun.
And if I remember correctly, there's a little bit of attrition during that race. It was kind
A
of,
lot of attrition throughout the whole night.
yeah, it was kind of I mean, it wasn't a long night, so to speak, but I mean, there was definitely a lot of action.
Yes,
Before
there
the
was.
before the race even started, we had carnage and
Yeah, there's fun listening to people scream at people, and it's just like they do it too. One of us. One of us.
yeah. That was a fun time with Jessup. It was a fun
Yep.
time, and then I drove back by myself essentially because he fell asleep 2 minutes out of town.
Mason, I was in and out of consciousness every 5 minutes. You were not alone.
Oh crap. Excuse me.
You know what, Mason? Some of us just feel real confident with our friends driving.
I appreciate
Oh,
that.
crap.
I definitely do not have that luxury when I ride with Jessup.
I was gonna say, you ride with Deer Man over here.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
Mr.
deer
Raccoon
are just
Man.
attracted to the vehicle.
Yeah, just like
I don't
Mason had the raccoons this year.
I don't nap
My
Jessup drives.
raccoon count is lower than your deer count still.
Yeah, woo.
I don't nap when Jessup drives.
Yes, you do.
See, Becca's in the same boat.
I passionately dislike all of you evenly.
When Jessup
And so,
drives, it's like basically, you kind of got to be alert at all times.
Yeah.
Becca, do you have a favorite event of the year before I do my second lap?
let's put it this way: nobody would survive in Frogger against me.
No, I can confirm that.
This is true.
You never rode with me when I hit something, so pipe your hole.
Well, thank goodness for that.
There's always a first, Mason.
So my event of the year is gonna go to John mentioned it how night one of the Dakota Classic Modified Tour got rained out. But it was No Neck Speedway who came together on a whim and put it together just you want to call it a prelude to the tour, and it was just going to be regular pay, and they didn't have a chance to promote it much, but it spread like wildfire. I think everyone was just excited for the Dakota Classic Modified Tour, and by the time the green flag waved, they had raised enough money for the purse that it ended up paying just as much as a Dakota Classic Modified Tour race.
Mhm.
It didn't count towards the tour, but the community came together with not a whole lot of time, and they put that track together and raised a lot of money, and it turned out great.
Yeah, and that was, yeah, like you said, not done with not a lot of time to get it all put together. So that was definitely a really cool thing that they pulled off. We have a surprise in our chat that just got dropped, but I will save that for the very end of the episode.
Why
I would
you?
agree. I would agree. This is perfect.
My second lap goes for the what could have been race or moment of the year. I have to go to Cheyenne Speedway on Memorial Day, where they had 140 cars for their
You have a
Memorial Day
lot of these
special.
moments this year, Mason.
Yeah, there was. And yeah, they had 7 different car classes, 140 cars. Like I've never seen the pits that full down in Lisbon, especially for Memorial Day. They're just arguably their biggest night of the year. And unfortunately, Mother Nature ruined that halfway through. They were working hard to get the track back in order until another rain shower came again and kind of wiped out the night. And so I know it was a shock because this year was very, very
It
tough
was
as far as weather goes.
it was a shock as well because I mean both Kayla and Mason were both in attendance. This is where the monsooning started and as well as the hurricane.
You know, monsooning.
Yeah,
Is that a
Monsoon
word?
Mason. Now we just need a picture of a monsoon with Mason's face.
I
That's
can do
the
that too.
main portion.
Oh,
And don't forget about Hurricane
gosh.
Kayla.
Yep.
Monsooning is a seasonal shift in wind direction that can cause extreme wet or dry weather in a region.
Sorry,
Oh,
Oh, Mason, look at you learning something new.
Gosh.
I was reading. Mason,
Monsoon
can you say
Mason.
that again? Because I was reading Becca's what could have been moment of the year.
I think Mason was too.
No, I was reading the monsooning definition.
Can you say it
Oh,
again, please?
The monsooning, a seasonal shift in wind direction that can cause extreme wet or dry weather in a region. Hmm.
A real dry region for Mason. Hey, buddy.
Well, anyone else got a what could have been moment?
Becca has one.
no, I don't.
I don't know if we can share that one on on the podcast.
I got my what could have been moment of the year. What could have been the greatest butt chewing ever performed by Becca had she heard what the people behind us at I-94 said when we tried to find our seats or tried to find a spot to sit down.
They're lucky I could not hear what they said. I would have chewed them a new one.
Now, Jessup,
What?
you have to understand this with I-94. I almost partially blame this on you because according to the internet, there's never anyone there at I-94 Speedway, so there's always open seats there to find and enjoy the races.
I
Well,
mean, I agree with Mason on
we
this.
were
I mean, you
going
you had
to
so many possibilities and you just sat right in front of these people.
You're right. I was a horrible person. I should have just
You need
stood the
you
whole
need to
time.
think about your actions.
I
Yep.
mean, John's been there, but I mean, there's never anyone there.
I mean, there's just never anybody there. I mean, Jessica, you need to think about your actions because you know every single action that you have has a corresponding reaction. And look at what happened.
Becca was cold and tired and ready to
I
go
wanted
home.
to go. I wanted to go to the races. Becca did not. So we went to the races. Where do I
So
Oh
my
yeah,
land?
good up moment for the year goes back to the Gov Cup at Dakota Speedway. Um, so
We could have
first
had a
time bringing
band.
top plate models in a very long time to Dakota Speedway, and we got great car counts, I thought. But Mother Nature just really had to kind of damper the moment, and she made it awkward. Like she couldn't
The
have
whole weekend.
Mother Nature couldn't have rained at like 7 o'clock and canceled the night one. She couldn't have waited like until like 11:30. No, she did like rain at like 9:30. So then it's like, okay, let's hurry up and try to like get the track back together, and we're gonna get
There's no hurry.
final night, this final race of the night in, right? And it just didn't work out. It was just too wet. The track was gone, so we had to scrap that late model feature, that only race that we had left that night one, and do it right away on night two, which is not a big deal. It ended up being a fantastic race to kick off night two, right? Well, night two also had a threat of rain, and although we tried to bust our butts to get all the racing in, stupid weather, it had to rain at like 9:30 once again. And I think we had a ban for night two. Or was it night
Nope,
one?
night one.
Night one. Night one, we had a band.
Night one, we had a ban. So then they started playing. So while it was raining, they started playing. Well, then we were in such a hurry up mode to try to get the cars back on the track. It didn't work out. We ended up scrapping the night. The band could have played, but they were like, nope, we played one time and we're calling it a night.
Before we get to our last lap around, give a shout out to our other sponsor, Brody Carlsrud, The Real Deal with B1. You can check out his podcast as he goes through his racing season. This is his first year podcasting, and good job, Brody, on the podcast, and hope it continues. It's fun to hear behind the scenes, kind of the ups and downs of racing and the people they interview. Keep up the great work. You can also check out his racing page, Brody Carlsrud, B1 Racing. Thank you so much, Brody, for supporting us on the podcast this season and being a
I
loyal
hear
listener
that
as well.
podcast has really nice aura.
Yes. Very nice aura, and it's sometimes it's lit AF, as they say.
Lit AF, Mason. It's lit AF.
Lit AF.
For real. No cap.
No cap.
Skibbity doo. Skibbity.
Is that after the fact?
No, John, you gotta be up with the lingo with these kids today. It's not Ohio, okay?
I get the inside joke there.
That I don't understand. Anyways, lap 3.
Way to age
Dress up.
yourself there, Mason.
What's that?
Way to age yourself. Breakout performance this year. I will say I'm going to give it to an out-of-stater, and I'm going to say Ethan Braxma. Now, a lot of people will be like, he's really good. No, prior to this year, he would make a few features, but he was handled pretty convincingly by the other drivers on the tour. This year, Ethan put on a clinic and was extremely dominant, and it wasn't just mainly the tour, it was pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, I remember because I always kind of follow, like, I remember seeing him when I went down to Iowa a couple of years ago, and he kind of be on that like top 8 to 10, and pretty solid. And then when I saw like he was coming on tour or when he was here, I'm like, I'm curious to see how he did. Very consistent. I think he got one win on tour, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But he was always like running very consistently. I'm just like, dang, like I think he's probably going to pull this off with like a tour championship. Obviously, Tim Ward's pretty good too, but yeah, very impressed with Ethan Broxman and his performance at a lot of tracks that he's never really been to. So, yeah, that's a great one. I'd almost say, I'm kind of going on the same realm of the tour. Cameron Starry was also kind of a pleasant surprise.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And he's another one that kind of was like, very consistent, like the first couple of races, like he was solid, but then like he'd always had the issue of starting really far back and having to pass a lot of cars.
Yeah.
But I believe did he also score a feature win on tour?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
So I mean, like a lot of with the mod and stock car tour, it's just being consistent and being there at the end of the races, and you will pretty much find yourself at the top 2 or 3 in the points, and that's kind of what he and both Ethan did, and so that some really good performances from our staters.
Yeah. my breakout performer of the year, I'm gonna give it to a driver that's 14 years old, and that's Ty Olson. Ty won 4 feature events at 4 different tracks this year, and then had a second feature event on top of that to win 5 total this year. He had 40 top 10 finishes, and out of those 40 top 10 finishes, over 30 of them were in the top 5. So that's something within about 50 shows that he had this year. So I would give it definitely to the 14-year-old of Ty Olson. He was pretty much a breakout star this year in the Legends.
I'm gonna go with Lily Christensen in the IMCA Sport Complex. I believe this was her third season behind the wheel, and started running up front, winning leading laps in her heat races, and then picked up her very first win up at the Nodak Speedway earlier this year. So she's been just steadily improving, and this year she really seemed to be really her own, just leading laps in the heat races as well as the feature and picking up her first win.
Mason, we were there for that.
We were. That was a very popular win.
Wild.
Mm-hmm. It was a
Wild.
popular one.
Yes. Yeah, you guys didn't even see me that night,
Well, I thought there was some sort of like
you a-holes.
camera flash going off up in the grandstand because there was kind of a glistening gleam, glare type effect happening. I believe the drivers were talking about it over the receiver.
I mean, we even passed you on the way up, and you didn't even wave at me then when I was driving next to you.
I'm glad Beck was
Talk
waving the
about
yellow
the
flag.
race fever. This is
Yeah,
new.
whatever.
Have you heard about
I
this?
mean, I'm pretty sure the drivers can't talk on the race receiver, but
Well, they
I
were
mean,
giving the thumbs down, so whatever.
this is definitely the
Becca,
Cottingham Insurance caution for you.
and there you go, John. You
And
get one too. We're
what
not
locations they
sponsored
have?
by any. We're not sponsored by anyone. And Becca, you're already in the pits, so you're black flagged.
Mason is the race director, and he hasn't told me otherwise.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, Jessup's too busy trying to talk back in his race receiver.
Yeah, right.
Hate you all. Hate you all equally.
We
Wondering
welcome
why nobody can hear him.
we welcome all competitors
Thank you,
to the
Mason.
race.
Thank you.
Okay, so Jessup, you had breakout star of the year.
Yep.
Becca, what was your next one of the year?
Yep.
I was going to do race of the year.
Go
Okay,
for it.
Becca's got race of the year.
And my first race of the year is going to be the late model feature from the
Oh,
1000, where you saw a fantastic battle for the win in the closing laps between Pat Dorr and Jake Radetsky. As the race was winding down, it looked like Jake Radetsky was going to cruise the victory, but Pat Dorr reeled him in and made a last lap pass for the win, and it was exciting to watch. It was a really thrilling finish.
Becca has most of it right. However, she's wrong. Pat Dorr had a major lead for a good chunk of the race, and then had a boo-boo and made a mistake. And then Jake Radetsky took advantage of that, and then Patrick had to use a daring last corner pass for the win.
I was talking about like the last. Okay, yeah, whatever. I was
Go
talking
to the
about
back.
laps. I wasn't talking about the whole race.
That's okay. You go to the back.
That was a good race. I was watching that with you guys.
Mm-hmm. And because Mason showed up late, you get a caution for that too.
Jesus.
Mason, that's your second caution for tonight.
Mason,
Brings out the
Mason.
black.
Mason, it's okay. Remember, he's talking into his race receiver because you're the race director, so you're the only one that can talk to the driver.
Right.
So
I mean,
at
that's
this
what he's
point, he
doing right
still
now.
doesn't know what's going on.
I
mean-
can't even hear him anyway.
Technically, if it's NASCAR,
Does drivers
don't.
talk to race control in NASCAR?
no, they talk to their crew. Oh, well, Becca. You
Anyways,
don't even
other
know your
races
own
of the year?
sport.
What's
I
your
was gonna
race?
say, Becca, you might deserve a caution on that one a little bit, even from me maybe. But yes. Okay, race of the year. Who's next?
Go ahead, John.
Okay, I'm gonna take the one that was a lot of fun announcing.
Oh,
So
ooh.
and my why are you so excited over there?
I don't know.
I'm scared what he's gonna say.
So, I mean, I've had a lot of exciting ones throughout the year. I'm not that miserable person on the mic anymore. And
No,
I would say
that's a
probably
caution for John now because he's the miserable person at the gate.
I'm just Mr. Miserable in general. So, but no, the race of the year that was a lot of fun for me to announce was definitely the stock car final night feature event at the Governor's Cup between Hunter Domagala and Johnny Carter. That was a really good race and a lot of fun to announce on that one. So they were side by side right at the line with Hunter taking the win over Johnny on that one. And that was a fun one to announce.
I was thinking you're going to take a race that you and I were both at.
No, I left that one for you, Mason.
So I was going to go with the late model finale at the Wasota 100
Oh,
So
because
that was a fun one too to watch.
that came down to the very end with Shane Sabraski, Mike Gresseth. They were swapping lanes the last few laps, and then you had Ryan Michelson coming from like mid-teens all the way up to the top three. That was
18th.
an epic, epic race.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna go with one of the more controversial races of the year because Becca just told me this one,
That was a fun one
and
to announce too.
it was a fun one to get video of to see the genuine reaction of the fans, and then to catch the reaction of the overall winner as he limped his car to the victory lane, and
I
that would be the
actually had
Jamestown.
go ahead.
It would be the Jamestown Stock Car Stampede Street Stock feature, where anything that could happen happened. But that could have also been what could have been if
Hmm.
if they would have left it and they both were up at the front.
Yeah.
That was an interesting one to announce. That race had a little bit of everything. But also, I knew that Mason and Hunter have been pretty good friends for many years, just with working and helping out at Lisbon and going through. And I was like, Mason, this is all your interview right away when you went down there.
I was like, this is gonna be a fun interview, and then the last lap happened. I'm like, well, this is gonna be a real interesting interview now.
So I was watching from home that night because it was 2 weeks after Riley was born. So I wasn't at the track, and this was probably like what 11:30 midnight when this race was
Oh,
going
it
It
on.
was
was well
11:30.
past.
Yep.
It
It
was
was
a
well
Yep. It was
late,
past
11:30 because
11.
and there
yep.
were still more races to go. And I was like, I am so tired. I was like nodding off, watching the race. And so I just texted Jessica like, I'm going to bed. I can't make it any longer because I think they were kept restarting on lap six. They had a restart on lap six and they
Yes, they did
really
like three
lost it.
times.
I was like, I can't make it anymore. And so I went to bed, and Jessica must have got home at 4 a.m. and Riley was up eating at 4 a.m. So he comes into the nursery and he's like, you missed one heck of a street stock race. And I'm like, I watched practically the whole thing. I just went to bed with 6 laps. Oh, he goes, yeah, the last 6 laps were the best.
That was the race. Everything
Hmm.
else up to that moment did not matter. Well, it did matter because certain drivers were driving through people.
And
Yep.
sure enough, it was a very exciting finish. And I was like, wow, I missed the best race of the night. So
The
You
grave
missed
digger
the
came
crowd
out.
reaction.
The
The
crowd
crowd
reaction was
reaction was
insane.
by far the part that was probably the most entertaining of that whole thing.
Jessica
I
got it.
liked panning out as the leader was coming out of four to the flag stand, and all of a sudden you just start seeing a sea of middle fingers.
Yep. Yep. Well, and then they get to the back straightaway, and at that time was when the winner got announced immediately, right at that time, and that crowd went crazy
Hmm.
I think
when that happened.
John was going to make that decision one way or the other. No, Tim,
I was gonna be
no,
Stacy, the race director at that time.
this is
Oh my.
John. You are going to give the other guy the win. I said so. One extra bonus slap for the fans.
Okay.
I have my oh crap moment of the year, and that would be I, was it the street? No, it was Hobby Stocks at Jamestown Speedway, where Getz Cows whole transmission fell out of the car, and I believe didn't Kelly
Kelly
Horner drive
Horner
over?
ran right over it.
It looked like they grenaded the motor, and the whole motor blew out of the bottom. But it was only the transmission, and
It was a complete transmission. Yep.
I believe someone told me that they had only ratchet strapped the transmission.
This would make more sense why it all the way fell out of the bottom of the car. So this is a good segue, Jessup, because my next section was going to be the oh crap moment of the year.
The Dukes of
Because
Hazzard.
I was going to do kind of like the fun moment of the year or the unbelievable moment of the year. One of those. And so that's a good one. The,
Okay.
you know, when Getzkow was there in the hobby stocks. Mine also is the Jamestown Speedway for this one
Oh,
because there was a lot of behind that was happening in the hobby stocks this year over there. And it is the Radley Stoppaworth flying off of turns 3 and 4
Oh,
into the pond and driving and almost making it out of the pond.
it was dry.
So
thankfully.
That is an oh shit moment.
yes,
You can't
he
add that,
literally
Becca. That's not supposed to be common knowledge.
so
And
yes, that
I
was
can beep
another
that out. That's easy.
yes, that was another very entertaining moment that you very seldom ever see at a racetrack.
I got
Mason's
one.
oh crap moment was the raccoon. Moving on.
Okay, Becca, you got one, you said.
th- Also Jamestown related. Uh, Bomber related as well. Uh, there was contact in the Bomber feature in the closing lap, about halfway through the race, and I want to say this is the Gumpy race. Uh, it involved Dylan Steele,
It was a week after. It was the fair
It's
race.
the week after
yeah,
of the fair race.
the Wednesday night
Yep.
retro night.
Yes.
Yes. Dylan Steele made contact with another driver, which ended up leaving Dylan Steele on the front stretch. And he gets out of his car in retro fashion to channel his inner Tony Stewart and goes to chuck his helmet at another driver and hits the wrong driver with his helmet. And I just thought that was
On with the comment of the night. The announcement. And there he goes, Dylan Steele. And he threw his helmet at the wrong car.
Yep. That was my complete comment of the night. And there he throws it, and it hits the wrong car.
Just the sheer disappointment in John's voice is just it could not be measured.
No.
All right, Mason.
Boy, the Bombers and Hobby Stock division at Jamestown gave us lots of fun moments this year.
yeah, they did.
They did.
Well, the only one that comes to mind is the couple 2 or 3 times again at Jamestown Speedway where the green flag waves and it's not the green flag.
Oh, when the Gotchan flag waved that night. Oh God, that was way too funny.
There,
So Becca,
It
you
wasn't
missed it.
me,
I
was
think
it?
you were at home. You were at
I
home
didn't do it.
with you were at home because it was a couple weeks before Riley was coming in. Jeff Sayre was up there, and Jeff was filling in championship night. And I haven't laughed that hard on the mic in a long time because he grabs the flag, the Gotchan flag, and he waves it to start the race. And I'm up there, and I was like, "Oh, and we're going under caution. Oh, I'm in green." Back to the green flag. Mason and I were laughing. I don't think I announced that whole lap because Jeff's waving it, and he didn't realize it right away. And then all of a sudden, he realized he like crap, and he throws it down on the flag stand. Oh, I haven't
force a
laughed that hard in a
habit.
long time.
Poor Jeff.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the only one I can think of.
Hey, hey, hats off to Jamestown
It
for
was.
getting the clean sweep of
They had it was a lot of enjoyable / oh crap moments sometimes.
It's
Yeah,
never dull there.
never a dull moment. That's for dang
Nope.
sure. I'm gonna go with track of the year then for my final
Okay.
award.
Oh no.
Who am I gonna pick for my track of the year, Jessup? Do you have a
I
guess?
don't know. I really don't know. I'm just gonna be dumb and say some national track.
National track.
I
No,
have mine already.
I'm gonna give it to Nodak Speedway. I
Ah,
think I
That was
think
Why
going
they
to be
not,
did.
mine too.
Mason?
Give it
Why
to
not?
Why not give it to Nodak Speedway and Minot? I think they did a really good job. They took like a bold change to their schedule with like the points champions being crowned in late June, and then kind of filling the rest of their schedule with some more special events, kind of bringing in some new classes. And like Jessup alluded to earlier in the episode, track prep was like way improved compared to previous years, and they look to continue going to do that in 2025 and excited to see them continue with even more races and events on their schedule. So Nodak Speedway is my 2024 track of the year.
Mason, I would agree with you on that because that was going to be kind of my pick too, just because of the fact that their car count went up quite a bit from what it was in previous years, especially when you look at, the average car counts across the board. They definitely went up. Motor Magic was a huge success again this year. Even from a car count perspective, they had multiple classes. They had consies in them, so that was really cool to see. From a car count perspective, and just even some of the show improvements that they made, even to keep the show moving, keep the track having a lot of moisture in it for track prep stuff, and other stuff. They definitely flipped the page from even where they were at a couple years ago to where they're at now from consistency and also just providing a great show for the fans.
Mhm.
I also was gonna say Nodex Speedway. I love what they're doing. They're just being different and bold, and I because their regular season is their first 10 races of their season, and so their championship night ended at the end of June, and then they went into just different racing specials such as the Dakota Classic Modified Tour, and then they had a night of sprint cars, and they're just doing different things, and I like it. I like the concept of it, and they already released their 2025 racing schedule, and it looks like they're just improving what they already started in 2024. So hats off to No Next Speedway. I think they really are moving in the right direction for their racing program.
Yeah, and especially with the amount of specials they have upcoming here in the next season, as well as just even kind of putting on memorial races, or I shouldn't even say maybe memorial races, but big money races in memory of certain drivers in certain divisions are really gonna, with the sponsorships that they've been able to obtain for this year, are really gonna help out even further, get even more fans into the grandstands as well as get drivers into the pits. And a lot of good comments from Nodak this year across the board,
Mhm.
from drivers, fans, pretty much kind of everybody I've kind of talked to. Jessup, your track of the year.
Hmm.
It can be Nodak too.
Is it going to be
Yeah,
Nodak clean sweep?
no, I can't do that then. I'll go with Esteban.
Oh, that's
Esteban
a
was
good one
another
too.
one I was
Yep,
considering.
S3 was a really good track this year too.
Yep,
So yeah,
they had a lot of good racing, a lot of good action, good crowd counts. Yeah,
yeah. I
and
mean,
it's not that I couldn't easily say Nodak. It just gotta spread a little love.
Mhm.
yeah, I have to give them credit a lot up at Nodak as well as Estevan. A lot of these tracks that are putting in the time and effort to, maybe increase the amount of fan involvement across the board within the facility. Estevan, like you guys said, has a 50-50 that does really well. As well as, even putting on, different classes, bringing in different divisions to bring some variety to their shows, as well as even making improvements to the facility as a whole, right? To go through and Nodak added dirt a couple years ago to get them back up and running with brand new clay.
They added
With
some
some of the
this year too,
tracks,
John. I
they added
thought.
some again this year. Yep, to get it even further up there with with trying to make sure that they could increase the show as well. Estevan does a great job with that to make sure that their track is the same way. Jamestown went through a huge project here this past year to get a lot of new clay on their track. Dakota Speedway added dirt and Taka, to their track a couple years ago with their clay project that happened here. I think that was back in 22, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in there range, 21, 22,
Yeah,
somewhere in there. So it's nice to see these tracks taking the initiative to try to make the show even better for the fans and the facility, as well, across the board with a lot of the brand new dirt and kind of reconfigurations and just kind of reviving the program again. It was nice to see. I attended quite a few shows this year, Mason, not even nearly the amount of shows that you did across the board, and some of those, and especially looking at towards the end of the season. I always kind of look at the end of the year for the next year, right? To go into it. Weekly shows this year at several tracks were really good from like fan attendance, car count attendance, blah blah. Definitely there was some tracks that struggled still on the weekly show basis. And then you look at the year-end specials and car counts were pretty high across the board at year-end shows, which was really nice to see. So were grandstands. So it was nice to see that a lot of those shows had really healthy grandstand counts, which were really, really cool to see. So, I mean, Jessup, to your point, you made the point that it was really nice to see late models back at Dakota Speedway, and it's helping with the late model car count across the board. I think, even just to get new tracks involved within late models. I think proof in the pudding of that is that the Science Memorial this year had their record car count with late models at that big show up in Grand Forks at 62. So that was really cool to see that their late model car counts have increased over the last 2 to 3 years, and sounds like this year we've got other rookies that are going in late model division. So that's really cool to see too.
As a closing thought, we hope everyone has a nice holiday season. Enjoy Christmas. Will be coming out after Christmas, but in the spirit of Christmas, you've heard of Elf on
Hold
the
on,
Shelf.
hold on.
Oh,
We now have
Christmas is
Jessup
all
on the
May,
ketchup.
John.
There's Jessup on the ketchup.
Look at that. That is your winner for this year's pole position for finishing in the whole podcast.
Jessup, you finally got the Heinz Trophy.
Well, someone's got to do it.
And
And
with that, that will do it for episode 31 of season 3 for the Track Packers. As always, be sure to like, share, and comment, and follow us on Facebook, watch on YouTube, or listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you to our sponsors, Hitch Harness, Isaac Hot Sauce Sandro, and The Real Deal with B1. Once again, have a nice holiday season. We'll see you in 2025 as we go out there and pack the track.